And there's well. Hello.
What Wexner is interested in, by his own admission, according to this New York Magazine interview that he gave in the 1980s, is accumulating more and more power and control. And the reason he says that in that article, it's so crazy you have to go and read it, is because he considers himself demonically possessed by what he calls a debuk, which is the Yiddish term for a demonic possession. And he says he had it when he was a child, it left when he was a teen, and then when he was 40, it returned to him and makes him want to accumulate more and more power and become more and more powerful and grow his business. So, you know. Given everything we know, that's just the icing on the cake, as it were.
Just got off the phone with the aliens, and they really like me. I have a great relationship with them. But I wish I didn't FaceTime with them because they were really nasty looking, and I made some unpleasant jokes. But I think they like me. We have a deal like you wouldn't believe that's about to happen. I found out they have oil like you wouldn't believe. They don't even touch it. They told me, "You're crazy for using oil." I said, "You're crazy for not using oil. What's wrong with these aliens?" You know, you think aliens would be smarter than us, but apparently they're not, because all they wanted for the oil, think of this, all they wanted for the oil is Marco Rubio. I guess he has some kind of special lineage. They really want Marco Rubio. They love him. And I thought, that's fantastic. Look, Marco's not going to be happy about it, but one person for trillions and trillions of barrels of oil, you have to do it. So Marco's not going to be too happy about it, but he's probably already on his way. I made the phone call.
My name is Carol Rosen. In 1974, I was introduced to the late Dr. Wernher von Braun in the U.S., the father of rocketry. In my first meeting with him, during that first 3.5 hours, he said to me, "Carol, you will stop the weaponization of space. There is a lie being told to everyone that the weaponization of space is now first being based upon the evil empire, the Russians. There are many enemies," he said, "against whom we're going to build this space-based weapon system. The first of whom was the Russians, which was existing at that time. Then there would be third world countries. Now we call them rogue nations or nations of concern. Then there would be asteroids." And then he would repeat to me over and over, "And the last card would be the extraterrestrial threat."
I still remain skeptical on this topic. I don't believe that there's necessarily little green men from another planet. But what I can say is that there's so much attention and speculation, and we continue to see and record and document objects that we cannot explain. And I have been in briefings, I've been in secure settings where I've seen classified videos and information. It's obvious that there's something out there that we don't know, we can't explain. Now, there's reports that we have crashed vehicles and that we're reverse engineering all this. There's reports that we have biological bodies and all of this stuff. And I have yet to validate any of that. But what I can validate is that there are objects that are using unconventional propulsion technology that is beyond our capabilities.
So long story short, there have been briefings that we've received as Congress that leads us to believe that, yes, there is definitely an advanced technology out there that's not created by mankind.
Close to a decade ago, I exclusively revealed on Joe Rogan's popular podcast that from all of my research and the global sun admissions, aliens don't come from distant star systems. They don't fly here in like tin can flying saucers. They come interdimensionally, and we have limited spectrum, even sight of what's in our normal light spectrum, not to mention the other dimensions, not to mention all the different fields that come into our dimension. And I've talked to high-level Pentagon people, CIA, you name it, scientists, physicists. They've said, absolutely, it's an interdimensional invasion. That's what the Bible talks about in every other ancient religion. that there's this unseen, but it's coming into our universe. It's coming into our domain. It's coming into our dimension. So here's a clip of her on Fox News Friday night talking about, yeah, it's interdimensional, but it's classified. I can't tell you yet. I'm going to tell you soon. But what they know from people in the Air Force I've talked to and what's already been declassified is a craft will show up and then it's 100 miles away instantly. Pew, pew. Or it'll be flying Mach 20 and make a perfect turn. Nothing can do that. Because in gravity, that would crush anything. You could have a solid block of stainless steel doing Mach 15, and if it made a perfect turn, it would flatten it out. So we know they're interdimensionally jumping from point to point. And so now Trump's talking about a big reveal here. Obama's saying aliens are real. I don't just believe Obama. I do believe there are obviously things that aren't human. But why are they announcing it now? Is it a distraction from Epstein? Sure, but Trump said when he first got reelected a year ago, I'm going to do disclosure, ordered Hexas to prepare the report in the next year that's about to be released. So regardless, this is really, really important. And being focused on UFOs or extraterrestrials doesn't take away from exposing Epstein. We're focused on that. But there's a lot of disclosure happening right now. A lot of really, really crazy stuff happening.
A man shot and killed 3 days ago at his home in the Antelope Valley community of Llano has been identified as Carl Grillmayer. He was a Caltech scientist. Colleagues say the 67-year-old made groundbreaking discoveries in astronomy and will be greatly missed.
Carl Grillmayer is was an extremely renowned scientist, and I would say he still is because his legacy will keep on. I felt very sad because he was my mentor. He was a great colleague. He cheered me on. I cheered him on.
No arrests have been made. Anyone with information is being asked to call Crime Stoppers at 800-222-TIPS.
Why would they hide this stuff? What would be the highest potential reason why information would be withheld from all of us?
Well, I mean, people have talked about, mass hysteria, et cetera. Maybe there's something about them that's really scary. That to know that we are somebody else's property. Or, heaven help that maybe we're farmed for something. That would be awful. That would be icky. It isn't as if we don't farm things, but just to know that you're not the top of the food chain might not be a pleasant thing. But, again, it's about what information do you give to a species like us that they wouldn't kill themselves with, right? If you give people access to free energy, is even a small amount of free energy only a step away to too much energy, that you basically blow up the planet. Literally, the amount of energy sitting in 1 cubic centimeter of space-time is enough to wreak havoc on the whole planet. But it's all tightly bound.
The United States.
What was the first question you wanted answered when you became president?
Where are the aliens?
Where are the aliens?
He said they're real. Later on social media, the former president clarified his comment, saying aliens visiting Earth is unlikely. Again, that's not the opposite of real. Senior White House correspondent Peter Ducey. Peter.
And Harris, presidents of the United States have one-of-a-kind perspective on this subject. So when one, like Barack Obama, says something sensational like that, it is very helpful to ask another, which is what we did aboard Air Force One.
Something that got a lot of attention this week. Barack Obama said that aliens are real. Have you seen any evidence of non-human visitors to Earth?
Well, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that.
So aliens are real?
Well, I don't know if they're real or not. I can tell you he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that.
That quickly went viral, so then the president announced, based on the tremendous interest shown, I will be directing the Secretary of War and other relevant departments and agencies to begin the process of identifying and releasing government files related to alien and extraterrestrial life. Democrats are giving the president props for that. Congressman Jared Moskowitz says, why would something not real be classified? Oh.
These damn AI video generators. They think they know everything, but they can't even get a simple human joint right.
You see this? This is the real thing. AI can't render this.
The problem with these machines is that they lack spatial awareness. They don't understand how a body occupies a space.
Algorithms completely fail to grasp the sacred geometry and proportions of the human form.
I mean, look at this crap. Used to need a guy in a mask to make a monster. Now, some code monkey types a prompt, and you get this digital Frankenstein.
It's horrific, isn't it?
They lack the solid structure of human bones and joints.
The funny thing about synthetic video, it's always the hands and faces that give it away.
Ah, forget about it. These AI guys, they think they can just copy and paste a real guy's anatomy, but they don't get it.
Algorithms simply cannot capture the charming, natural imperfections of a genuine human smile.
It's a damn shame, you know?
You ever notice that? Everything's getting so fake. I'm not sure I like it.
The manager says it's the future of service.
But where's the artisanal charm, the human touch?
It's strange, isn't it?
Anything can be faked. Any face, any event. Visual truth is obsolete.
Oh, that's interesting. How so?
They can make you say anything now. Anything.
But it's not real.
It's not a game anymore. They're fabricating entire battles.
It's like they've never even heard of a reaction shot. Tell me about it. They think action means just shaking the camera and cutting every 2 seconds. And the framing, it's always a garbled mess. You can't tell who's hitting who. I trust a toddler with a crayon more than this thing. Cheers!
I think it's beautiful. It's like the AI is trying to understand humanity, but it's just glitchy. It's like a soul trying to get out. There must be something real, isn't there?
The only thing that's real is that they're winning.
Do you think these memories can ever truly have a soul?
Wait, so if this is a prompt, then what are we? We're not even having a conversation. We're just lines in a prompt. And if the prompt defines us, then our identity is just a simulation of a simulation.
Algorithmic art is just the latest bourgeois scam churning out soulless garbage for the masses.
Excuse me, do you live in Konderstag? Yes. If I give you this camera, would you take photos of your life here? We'll get it back and make a video with it.
It's just me, my life about it at the moment. It's just about animals. It's not really about Starfish Day.
I think that's amazing.
For what is it?
It's a series we run. It's called Life on Film.
Okay.
And what's your name?
Cannibalism might seem kind of gruesome, and kind of is. I'm going to give you a little background of what got me to this position to run this bill. So back in 2019, I heard that Washington State was starting to do human composting, and that disturbed me. I wanted to address this because what I didn't want to see is bags of compost with human bone fragments. I want to stop it getting into the human food supply. I was on a plane this summer, watched a video of some food show, and the 3 contestants tasted the food and they had to guess what was in it. It was some kind of a sausage, and one of the options they told these people that was in the food was human flesh.
Can you tell us the 3 secret ingredients that might be found in this amazing sausage that you made for us today?
The 3 secret ingredients that might be found in this sausage are fish liver, human flesh, or shark.
Are those really the 3 ingredients?
Yeah, fish liver, human flesh, or shark. Is this... Is that a problem? Is it? And that's just, there's a stigma surrounding this.
We're clear, we're good. Eagle cleared it. We're good. Come on, Brian, please.
All right. Yo. Thank you, Kev. Thank you very much. All right, Joe. Fish liver, shark,
or human flesh?
God help you, it better be shark.
All right, 2, what do you think it's going to be?
Shark 2.
Shark?
The liver is like too obvious, and I don't think it's human flesh, so I think it's shark.
Chef Keith, can you tell us what is the secret ingredient in this dish?
Yes, I'm afraid you're both wrong. It is human flesh.
No. No.
Whoa.
That's not okay. That's not all right.
We don't have to see video footage of it. Is there any concern? Have you talked to any members of Congress, any whistleblowers, anybody that's come forward to talk about concerns about what's been happening down in Antarctica?
One of the rumors that we've heard on the Hill, both in the hearing that I held a few weeks ago and the hearing with David Grush last year, is that the government uses private contractors to skirt the law, to skirt the Constitution, to skirt disclosure, to skirt the requirement to inform members of Congress, White House, et cetera. And so if this is a continuation of that, then it's deeply concerning that it would be happening and that we should call in. I mean, I would love to see us call in the contractors that are allegedly involved and find out what's actually been happening, what's been going on, and who's hiding what from whom and what agencies. Because is this a case where, maybe the DOD knows something, FBI or CIA or DNI knows something, and the White House is kept in the dark? Like, where is the strategy here and who's in charge? Because it's not the people, nor Congress.
Right. Well, I would love to share with you off camera, if you'd like, the whistleblowers who worked at the base in Antarctica.
We would love to hear that, get that information, that data, and protect them by all means necessary.
Are you going to subpoena anyone from the CIA or anyone who might be involved in these deep state programs as part of perhaps a select committee or otherwise?
There was a conversation I had with someone who I trust, who got very emotional and described a friend of his dying on the moon. I've spoken to over a dozen people, probably 15 plus people, who operate, either have operated or are operating inside what we would call the legacy retrieval of non-human craft and reverse engineering program. I think one of the most galling, shocking moments for me was when people that I was talking to in the program, who are still in the program, admitted to me that we're using high pulse microwave weapons, HPMs, to
take them down.
Craft.
Have we purposely murdered other beings?
Oh God, that's a horrible thought, isn't it?
Have we?
I suspect we have. I've asked them what happened to the beings, and I just get a squeamish look.
Whew. Do you believe that some of the people you've spoken to, Jake included, David Grush included, are closer to the program than they let on?
I can't say.
Well, I think you just did.
Yeah, I can't say. When people know what I was talking about.
Sure.
I mean,
when you say when people know?
Oh, they will know. I'm pretty sure it'll become public.
Is it outside of the Five Eyes?
Oh, you could definitely see it on a satellite. It's a building. I've said it's a building.
It's a building. Is the building the shape of the craft?
Yeah. At 10:30 at night, he puts the blindfold over his eyes, and within a few seconds, he says, "I'm engaged." I said, "What do you mean you're engaged?" He says, "I'm in a craft." He says, "Horizon." And I look towards the horizon, and there are these two golden white orbs that just appeared on the horizon. These objects do come closer. And I'm just like, holy hell. I was excited. I thought, wow, that was really something. But I was kind of disappointed for Jordan because we hadn't seen what he said he was going to see, which was the blue hexagon. Almost simultaneously at the moment that I'm saying to Jordan, gee, real shame that we didn't see the blue hexagon, you see a blue hexagonal orb, exactly as Jordan had predicted.
Is there a piece of information you wish you were never told?
Yeah, there is. I was given the names of, and it wasn't Jake, I was given the names of people who ordered the murder of his team.
At the end of the day, we're human beings, and we were placed here before government existed, right? We created government, and it is not the right of any government to withhold from you and I truth about reality, right? In other words, no government has the right to withhold from you and I that we might be alone or not alone in the universe. That is not their right. That is not classified. That's a truth that humanity deserves to know. So, and I make that very clear when I meet with intelligence officials. Oftentimes you can tell that they're worried about having legitimate programs and the technology that we've developed being exposed. And my response is, look, I don't want China to have any of our, advanced technology, or Russia or anybody to know about it. But I want to make it very clear that if we have any information that demonstrates that there's non-human intelligence that exists, that is not a classified topic. And I generally always get an agreement that is not in essence something that can even be classified.
I'm asking for a voluntary moratorium on the cloning of human beings until our Bioethics Advisory Commission and our entire nation have had a real chance to understand and debate the profound ethical implications of the latest advances. As we gain a fuller understanding of this technology, we must proceed not just with caution, but also with a conscience, by insisting that not a single taxpayer dollar supports human cloning, and by urging a moratorium on all private research in this area. We can ensure that as we move forward on this issue, we weigh the concerns of faith and family and philosophy and values, not merely of science alone. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, one side recommendation I have is don't worry about squirreling money away for retirement in 10 or 20 years. It won't matter.
No.
Okay.
Either we're not going to be here, or
it just you won't need to save for retirement. If any of the things that we've said are true, saving for retirement will be irrelevant.
The services will be there to support you. You'll have the home, you'll have the healthcare, you'll have the entertainment.
The way this unfolds is fundamentally impossible to predict because of self-improvement of the AI and the accelerating timeline.
Yeah, it's called singularity for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't know what happens after the event horizon.
Exactly. You can never see past the black hole or the event horizon, the light cone.
I mean, Ray has the singularity out way too far. I mean, this is the next, what's your timeline for this?
We're in the singularity.
Well, we are in the singularity, for sure.
Yeah.
We're in the midst of it right now, for sure.
Yeah.
And they would just
we're in this beautiful sweet spot, which is
we're on the roller coasters. We're just
exactly. That's a great analogy. It's like that feeling.
You're at the top of the roller coaster and you're about to go.
Yeah, but it's going to be a lot of G's when you
a lot of G's.
when you hit it.
Yeah. It's feel I don't have to just have courtside seats. I'm on the court.
Exactly.
And it still blows my mind. Sometimes multiple times a week.
Yeah.
So just when I think I'm wow, and then it's 2 days later, more wow.
Yeah. Exponential wow.
Yeah. I think we'll hit AGI next year in 26.
If you found out we weren't alone, if someone showed you, would that frighten you?
So she was studying the ecstasies of the saints, meaning the times in which they became enraptured by some sighting or observation that they had, where they would be literally in a almost like a trance. And as she had access to the Vatican Library, which not many people get access to, go down into the catacombs of the library. Cool. And she said, one of the things that really interested me was that the showings of the angels or the showings of God always showed up as orbs of light or things like that. And she began to realize, well, today we see this as, we call them UFOs.
Part of the UFO declassification process should include the continuity of government players because they're the same team. And those are the largest secrets in that deep state that control so many aspects over the executive branch. Now, to bring the UFO file back under the executive branch is a quest inside the Trump administration. And like I said, he did it with Space Force. He's done it with other things. But right now, the declassification of these documents and his announcement, early announcement, because he was really forced into this timeline by Obama, he was going to do this in July. And the reason I think he was choosing that was this idea of the 250th anniversary of the United States. Now, this is very interesting. His mentor, in many ways, Richard Nixon, and where he got so many of his deep ideas about the presidency, Nixon himself in 1976 was also going to do a gigantic UFO revelation in 1976 for the 200th anniversary, and that didn't end up happening. So what Trump needs to do is make sure that he's not cut off at the most crucial point in dealing with this. And the way to do that is to go directly into the military contractor backgrounds and where they move the actual scientific information from cases like the Roswell case and others, instead of getting that whitewash of like, here's some documents, and then like the JFK, it doesn't go anywhere. There's like, oh, here's some frill for the media, but we don't actually get to any deep points. Now, what I was thinking about that Trump can do particularly is dealing with groups like Boeing, dealing with groups like Lockheed, and saying, well, I've directed Hegseth to get me all of this as part of the Department of War. Well, you're going to have to deal with them, and there has to be a way to compel them and make that a public point. So you're going to have to use the bully pulpit in a way that he's
exactly. How does he put pressure on the mad scientist cult?
I think by literally outlining that there's a breakaway group. Now, he was the one who came on board.
I agree. He has to identify them. It's a deep state. Yeah. People know it's true.
Yes,
it
exactly.
would sound crazy 10 years ago. Everyone knows it already.
There's no question about it. And he himself, I think, has adjusted to this reality in many ways. He has, over the years, when they were trying to throw him in prison and everything else, he's come out in very, very blunt terms about this secret group controlling things in the background. Now, as president, he needs to say, we need a clear opening of this information, and also that he'll share it with the scientists in this country, and that the groups around the world need to share theirs as well, so that the Russians, the Chinese, and
we're talking free energy, everything. Just do it, God.
Well, we got the first round of storms heading our way. There's a system near Holdenville, Oklahoma. It's moving towards the northeast. Looks like it's almost like 40 miles per hour. Jeez. So there's actually a tornado warning over there. Just heading up that way. Looks like it might clip my next door neighbor's town.
End the Fed and all central banks. The second source of funding for the ruling elites, besides the money extorted from the public in the form of taxes, comes from the central banks. Central banks are allowed to create paper money out of thin air. This reduces the purchasing power of money and destroys the savings of average people. It does not and cannot make society as a whole richer, but it redistributes income and wealth within society. The earliest receiver of the newly created money, that is usually the ruling elites, are thereby made richer, and the later and latest receiver, that is the average citizen, are made poorer. The central bank's manipulation of interest rates is the cause of boom-bust cycles. The central bank permits the accumulation of ever greater public debt that is shifted as a burden onto unknown future taxpayers or is simply inflated away. And as a facilitator of public debt, the central banks are also the facilitators of wars. This monstrosity must end and be replaced by a system of free, competitive banking built on the foundation of a genuine commodity money such as gold and silver.
He grabbed a plastic bag with the hard drives inside.
In 2015, a site called Baby Heart opened on the dark web. It was dedicated to the abuse of babies and toddlers. A man who called himself Twinkle ran the site.
We started to work with the Interpol, Homeland Security from the United States, Australia, England, Spain, France. Everybody was chasing Twinkle.
But he was used to covering his tracks. In the end, an arrest in Brazil led investigators to Twinkle's Facebook page, and it was a skin condition on his hand that gave him away.
The pattern, the color of the skin, we had a match.
Authorities raided his house in June 2017.
In the second room, on the right, we found Twinkle. Twinkle was in his bed, laying with the 2 kids.
Twinkle led them to his hard drives, buried deep in the woods. The material found helped sentence him to 21 years in prison, but this result came at a cost. Ricardo was one of the many who had to view the child abuse images to bring Twinkle to justice.
The ghosts, they will always be in our minds. It's impossible to send them away. The challenge is living with them.
And Trump won't get he won't get rid of Howard Lutnick either, because Howard Lutnick knows too much about Donald Trump.
And that's a problem. And Stu, that's a huge problem. He's not impressive. He's always looking over. He's always peering over Trump's shoulder, making sure that Trump's saying and doing the right thing.
Snickering and sneering and laughing every time the Epstein files are brought up. He gets that big fat belly.
Uncontrollably when somebody mentions rape in the Epstein file, just ha 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 ha. The guy literally brought his kids. He brought his kids and his nanny to Epstein Island. And
yeah, but that's safe because he's Jewish. His Jewish children didn't meet the same fate as those that are buried on Zorro Ranch.
Yeah, I mean, that Jewish supremacy right there. It's pretty clear, right? The Jews.
It's mentioned all throughout the files. The Goyim, are the Goyim going to be there?
Right.
Is it going to be exclusively Jews? Right. Or are the dirty rat Goyim going to be there? It's constantly messaged. The Talmud was central to everything that Jeffrey Epstein did. He had a custom-built bookshelf proudly displayed directly behind his desk that contained every book of the Talmud. Mm-hmm. And it was the exact size, height and horizontal. It was the exact size to fit every one of those books from the Talmud. Talmudic Judaism was at the center of everything that Jeffrey Epstein was doing. Of course. People that try to detach that, people that try to obfuscate that, they're dishonest.
They're lying.
Now what happened? The Eastern European Jews, who form 92% of the world's population of those people who call themselves Jews, were originally Khazars. They were a warlike tribe that lived deep in the heart of Asia. And they were so warlike that even the Asiatics drove them out of Asia into Eastern Europe. And to reduce this so you don't get too confused about the history of Eastern Europe, they set up this big Khazar kingdom, 800,000 square miles. Only there was no Russia, there were no other countries, and the Khazar kingdom was the biggest country in all Europe. So big and so powerful that when the other monarchs wanted to go to war, the Khazars would loan them 40,000 soldiers. That's how big and powerful they were. Now, they were phallic worshippers. Which is filthy. I don't want to go into the details of that now. It was their religion, the way it was the religion of many other pagans or barbarians elsewhere in the world. Now the king became so disgusted with the degeneracy of his kingdom that he decided to adopt a so-called monotheistic faith, either Christianity, Islam, the Muslim faith, or what is known today as Judaism, really Talmudism. So, like spinning a top, he said, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and he picked out so-called Judaism. And that became the state religion, and he sent down to the Talmudic schools of Tel Aviv and Surah and brought up thousands of these rabbis with their teachings, and he opened up synagogues and schools in his kingdom of 800,000 people, 800,000 square miles, and maybe 10 to 20 million people, and they became what we call Jews. There wasn't one of them that ever had an ancestor that ever put a toe in the Holy Land, not alone in Old Testament history, but back to time, the beginning of time.
There's a war going on outside, no man is safe from. You could run, but you can't hide forever from these streets that we done took.
You've appealed to Genesis. Genesis 15 says it's Abram, it's pre-Abraham, it's Abram, receives from God the news that his descendants will inherit the land. And you tell me as the theologian if I'm getting this wrong, but from the Euphrates to the Nile. I think that's right. And that would include like basically the entire Middle East. That would be the Levant. So that would be Israel, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon. It would also be big parts of Saudi Arabia and Iraq. It would be, I mean,
I'm not sure it would go that far. I mean, it would be a big piece of land, but here's the point.
It would be a lot of places that are now countries.
But this particular area that we're talking about now, Israel, is a land that God gave through Abraham to a people that he chose. It was a people, a place, and a purpose. We can look at it that way. Christian Zionism, I want to go back because that's where we started on this.
I'm not going to let you off on this because you have said it 3 times that God gave this land to this people. And so it is entirely fair for me with respect to ask, what land are you talking about? Because I just read Genesis 15, as I have many times. Mm-hmm. And that land, I think it says, from the Nile to the Euphrates, which is, once again, basically the entire Middle East. So God gave that land to his people, the Jews, or he didn't. You're saying he did. What does that mean? Does Israel have the right to that land? Because you're appealing to Genesis. Yeah. You're saying that's the original deed.
It would be fine if they took it all.
I mean, I love kids. Not in a bad way, in a nice way. I mean, I'm not on the child protection register. Yet. Which proves I'm not a pedo. This is going horribly. Need a joke. Either that or I'm an incredibly hard to detect pedo. Just move on from the pedo area entirely.
I think the most influential one on the right is the Jewish hand in immigration and all of its attendant woes.
We were a voice for immigration throughout the 20th century. We have suffered by closed borders. So we were the arrowhead.
It's this funny thing where it's like if you say it, it's bad, but they say it all the time, but you're still crazy and bad if you're like, look, they're the ones doing it. And he says we suffered from closed borders. It means people don't really want Jews in their country. That's what he means. Like the Gentiles. Exactly. They don't really want Jews. They never did. But the Jews lobbied and were able to get in regardless of what the people want. And so they work tirelessly to keep it that way, to keep things multicultural and liberal and open.
When you keep getting thrown out of countries, I guess that's kind of your only option.
You were in the same prison as Jeffrey Epstein.
Yes.
What do you think happened?
Jeffrey Epstein would have to be a magician to try to hang himself in that cell. I was in that cell. There's no way there's nothing on the ceiling. The bedpost is this high. I couldn't even go to a restroom without them walking back and forth and having me on camera. You know, there's no way he committed suicide.
So you reckon he was killed?
Yeah.
Why?
I believe that. I mean, look, there's no doubt there was powerful people involved with him, 100%. These people have a way of covering things up.
But, you can spend time mapping these out, and it's generational. There's the Keaton Five, the savings loan scandal, John McCain, and that connects right back with the Bronfmans and Strauss and Schoenstein and Wexner and the president of the World Jewish Congress. These aren't like simple Zionists. These are the heads of the federations, the largest organizations in the world, and they're all involved in organized crime. But the greater question is, why is it that Epstein resonates and flattening cities in Gaza doesn't. Killing 2,000 people in Lebanon in a few days doesn't. Like all the horror, prison rape, which the majority of the population agrees with in Israel. This should deeply disturb everybody. And of course, all these people, you go to Howard Lutnick and Reid Hoffman and all these prominent Zionists that are in Epstein's best friends and next door neighbor in the case of Lutnick, who brings his kids to Rape Island to a convicted pedophile who's, on a sex offenders list. This is how these people are. This is how they operate. They don't have a problem with genocide. They don't have a problem with rape. They don't care about mass murder, ethnic cleansing, land annexation. That's just how they are. And they want to start a war with Iran. Like, this is what the deep state is. And people are just now peeking under the cover and seeing a slither of how nasty these people are. The majority of the kiddie filling was not blackmail. It's just something they do because they enjoy it.
If I just have this magic power, I would like to reduce the number of people on the planet because there's too many of us. I decided to call it voluntary population optimization. So by the time people worked it out. And if you talk about overpopulation and not population control, that's really what got to people. They don't want to be controlled. All these things we talk about wouldn't be a problem if there was the size of population that there was 500 years ago. Please think about what you and your organization can do to help human population decrease.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition, liftoff. The MA6 vehicle has lifted off. The MA6 vehicle has lifted off. Trajectory looks good. The MA6 vehicle is off the launch pad. At 47 minutes after the hour. It's climbing nicely. All systems are reported go. Safety reports it is all green. The MA6 vehicle is climbing.
You look at the size of the hole at the Pentagon, it was approximately 65 feet across, and the height of the Pentagon is approximately 73 feet. From wingtip to wingtip, a 757 is 124 feet 10 inches. From nose to tail, a 757 is 155 feet and 3 inches in length, and the height is 44 feet and 6 inches. However, when you look at the hole at the Pentagon, you'll find that it's only approximately 65 feet across. How does a plane of those dimensions fit into a hole only 65 feet across? Upon further inspection, we found that the damage at the Pentagon was completely and totally inconsistent with the damage of the planes that had hit the World Trade Center. I mean, after all, the planes that hit the Trade Center created a fire so intense that it fatigued the steel and collapsed the buildings, or so that's what we were told. And yet when you look at the left side of the Pentagon, you'll note that there is very little, if any, smoke damage or heat damage at all. On the third floor, it's very plain to see a file cabinet with a computer monitor. Neither of them are damaged. On the second floor, you can see a wooden desk. It hasn't burned. And on the first floor, a very curious sight indeed, a wooden stool with a book that is laying and open. The pages aren't even singed. Now, each of the planes involved in the September 11th attacks had embarked upon transcontinental flights, which means that they had a majority of their fuel left over when they hit their respective targets. That means that approximately 8,600 remaining gallons of fuel would have been ignited on the 757 that had hit the Pentagon. Again, we look at the photograph and ask ourselves, is the smoke and heat damage consistent with that amount of fuel being ignited?
Stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me.
This idea that, like, okay, OpenClaw won't work unless you hook up your Gmail, your email account, your Telegram, a bunch of these accounts with a bunch of very sensitive information, your WhatsApp, and you have to hook it all up and it's going to be your assistant. Bro, what the fuck? how are you guys falling for this, man? Do you know how much, like, extremely sensitive information is on all of that shit? That's your lifeblood on all of that shit. You would never give anybody access to it unless they trick you with this vague idea of, well, if you do this, you're going to have this amazing assistant. It's a digital assistant. It has a soul. It's going to make you so much money. Your life is going to be so easy. And also, you just have to click a button. You click a button, it installs itself. There's a bunch of agents or employees running around for you. Your life is easy. Just click the button. And everybody clicks the fucking button. And what do you think happens? Immediately fucking right after, there's people that are accidentally uploading their private keys to public GitHubs. Somebody got drained because there's some kind of a skill hub. Like somebody's able to create skills for their AI. Well, what do you think they do? That's an attack vector. They upload malware there. It doesn't check for it. New accounts that are 1 week old upload the malware. You download it. It installs something with a single command that you can't read, and even if you could read, you wouldn't even know you were installing malware. Most of the people using this, most of the people vibe coding, they're not coders. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They're just clicking yes, yes, yes every time it prompts them. They don't know what's going on in the back end. And little do they know, they're installing malware that can like parse through their Gmail, parse through their Telegram, parse through their WhatsApp, parse through all of these things that they would never give access to anyone. And sure enough, you know, it's not just you lose your money. You can lose all of your money. You can get drained. People can get all kinds of information on you. They can know where you are in real life. They can know how to blackmail you with information you would have never given anybody access to in real life. Bro, what the fuck are you guys doing? It's not that difficult. Look, I installed OpenClaw. I'm not even going to pretend like I'm the most intelligent person. If it wants a Telegram, okay, cool. It doesn't cost me that much money to get a fucking burner. I've given you an email that isn't connected to mine with passwords not connected to mine. I'll get you a Telegram not connected to mine, a WhatsApp based on a phone with a burner number, again, not connected to mine. If you really want to make my life that much easier, okay, sure. Go and fucking do it. Let's see what you got, OpenClaw. Let's see what other people have created. It's not that fucking difficult to just make another instance of something to where it can't ruin your fucking life. Bro, you guys have to have just a little bit of common sense here. Don't fall for these Alex Finns telling you you're going to be obsolete unless you connect your your literal left kidney to OpenClaw. Next thing you know, there's a Chinese dude operating on you in the fucking bathtub, ice in there. You don't have a kidney. Progress.
I mean, there was trans people back in the day. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but then Donald Trump and Elon Musk, they made the Holocaust too, and wiped them out during World War III. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then Elon Musk in about 2026 came out as a cyborg.
I read the history books.
Yeah, they made a bunch of cyborg robots that gave everyone sloppy.
Right, yeah.
Gluck gluck. They gave everyone gluck gluck.
Right,
they made,
yeah.
We're gonna go to bed. Okay.
He's going off on, he's doing one of those talks.
And they had quantum computers that bent us over and fucked us type shit.
Yeah.
I miss the trans people. They existed, I swear. Oh.
So this is my impression of how an American person gets paid, okay? Wow, I worked 40 hours this week. Guess I'll be getting a big paycheck at the end of the month. It's gonna go automatically into my bank. Okay, now this is how a Chinese person gets paid.
我求求你了，潘总，潘总，我没有要求你付完我所有的钱。工人工资，老常，在座的人是不是工人？
楼上那个下楼不下。
With it. Just let me make one point on this, in my view. And again, look, this isn't based in research. I'd say that up front. It seems to me that the whole transgender thing, it seems to be the ultimate act of rebellion, maybe for some very disturbed teenagers, maybe for very disgruntled adult males and women. It's the ultimate act of sort of rebellion and passive aggression, it seems to me. I'm going to walk into the room dressed as a woman in high heels, with a, I'm going to be looking great, and you're going to accept that I am now a woman. I'm going to do that tomorrow in my place of work here in Moscow. If I turn up as Napoleon Bonaparte tomorrow, okay, and I say, I'm the commander of the great Grand Army, okay, I'll be taken away to a mental hospital. If I turn up as dressed as my mother tomorrow in Europe, and you laugh at me and you suggest I'm crazy, you're going to jail. This is what we're talking about. This is what the debate is about here. It's about the complete erosion of common sense when it comes to gender dysphoria, as you call it.
At this point, Howard Lutnick needs to go to jail. Not only is he all over the Epstein files, he has now just been exposed for massive insider trading. So today, the Supreme Court struck down Trump's tariffs. But guess what? Howard Lutnick's family firm bought up the rights to tariff refunds for 20 to 30 cents on the dollar last year, meaning they bet against the tariffs being legal, even though he was out there reassuring the public that the Supreme Court would side with Trump.
What do you think? How do you think they're leaning?
Well, I think they're leaning toward the president. So what happened is General Sauer, our Solicitor General, was out first, and the justices were tough. Let's say they were asking them tough questions. But when the other side got up, wow, it was very, very strong. And so I left very upbeat and very positive. And I think these justices are going to come down in favor of the president's powers.
This was just a few days ago, he said this. Now, estimates are saying that the Lutnick family windfall could be into the billions of dollars. I think Andrew Schultz sums it up quite well. He says, quote, "This is the Epstein class playbook 101. Fund both sides of the war and policy. Disgraceful. They have no love or loyalty to America. We are simply a vessel for them to exploit for their own enrichment. If we want Americans to have faith in our institutions, the Epstein class must receive the highest punishment of the law imaginable."
Carey, Mariah Carey's sister, talks about the sacrifices they would do for Mariah to get famous. Children between 1 to 3 years old were sacrificed, and this traumatized her horrifically.
We'd have these big circles of these Satanists around an altar where the people, sometimes in hooded, what do you call them? They were wearing these long cloaks that were brown with hoods, and they'd be in a circle or two circles, one inside of the other, by the altar, where there'd be live children and sometimes babies. So, and that would happen at night. I saw people get stabbed and start bleeding, and it would be dripping to the floor. It was children. The youngest I ever saw stabbed, I'd say it was about younger than 2 years old. And then there were several that were 2 and 3 years old. I can't imagine how anybody got away with that. The kid disappears. Don't detectives come?
¡Oh! ¡Ya se partieron el queso las brujas!
Bruja, mensa, ¿no te fijas por dónde vuelas? Pues no es autopista, es escoba vieja. ¡Ah, madre!
Listen to this. Ghislaine Maxwell's family have seen fit to comment. And I would argue, if ever there was a time to shut the fuck up, it's right now. Astonished to see Andrew Mountbatten Windsor arrested today over alleged misconduct in public office linked to material from the so-called Epstein files. You are related to a woman who has been charged with sex trafficking crimes, and you are saying allegedly called the Epstein files. The fucking arrogance of these motherfuckers, guys, is quite staggering. He is entitled to the presumption of innocence and a fair process. What fucking fair process have any of the victims of your relative, Ghislaine Maxwell, received before you get on your high horse? We need transparency, evidence, not trial by media and political expediency. Fuck off. Just fuck right off with your supercilious, privileged Maxwell empire, dubious connections. Ghislaine Maxwell's family puts this out, dares to put this out. In order to what? In order to look after Prince Andrew Mountbatten with his teddy bears, with his angry teddy bears.
guys heard about that little monkey named Punch in Japan that's getting bullied by all the other monkeys, and then like the whole world exploded? What happened the last time a monkey went viral? Harambe, anybody remember? Things went downhill, right? So what if this is our like second timeline chance to redeem ourselves? And if you think I'm crazy, well, that could be my allergy medication talking, because it said non-drowsy, but it in fact is very drowsy, as you can hear, and my eyes are so itchy and have been, and yeah, it's not working. It's just making me drowsy. And maybe that's how allergy medication is supposed to work. But anyway, what if Punch, the little monkey getting bullied at the Japanese zoo, where there's like little women on X tagging NATO, Team SEAL 6, and like the UN to go in and rescue this little dude, right? We need to keep that monkey alive, you guys. This could be our second timeline, like redemption. Again, this could also be my allergy medication talking.
You just need to punch.
All around me are familiar.
You need to punch.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening, but they fought with expert timing. There were funky Chinamen from funky Chinatown.
If you go to China, they're piloting it a few years ago in Shenzhen. So I lived overseas. If you go to Shenzhen, back in 2017, they already had facial recognition cameras there. So if you jaywalked in Shenzhen, they would immediately detect that and send you a notification, and they would deduct money from your what they call WeChat account. They use two main apps, WeChat and Alipay. So you can actually deduct your money directly from your account. This is 4 years ago, so this is not like some sort of conspiracy theory. It's not something that's going to happen 10 years into the future. This happened pre-corona in China. And so this system in China that exists is extremely advanced. They can detect if it's a man or a woman. They can guess your age. They can detect what kind of car model it is, who the manufacturer is. This is a sort of technology that we see in all these dystopian sort of films and whatever. And people keep putting it off and thinking that this is something that's going to happen later in my kid's lifetime or my grandkids. It's already here. And if this gets implemented anywhere, especially in a Western nation, it's not going away. Israel is already talking about the fourth shot. Then they're going to be going to herpes, and they're going to ask if you're gay. They're going to be asking if you ate 3 pizzas this week because it's unhealthy. If you buy certain books in certain countries, your country doesn't like you. You'll lose points in the social credit score system. So this is already the reality of the world in certain places, and we need to be aware of that if we don't want that or if we do. And to be perfectly honest, anybody who wants this vaccine passport, it's a misnomer. It's total control. Everything you do or don't do will be calculated. To the point where if they can detect your GPS signal, if you have a phone on you, they can detect who you're hanging out with. Oh, you're hanging out with somebody that said something bad 9 years ago on Weibo. Okay, like a Chinese equivalent to Facebook or something like that, right? Oh, you lose 2 points. Oh, you bought Japanese books. You lose 5 points because you don't like Japan. This is what is going to come here because it's already there.
And we're doing that a little bit with contact tracing for COVID, aren't we? So that they can see where you're at and who you're with.
The simple reality is that the technology that CSIS has and all these big tech corporations, they already know where you are. It's just that they don't want to shock the system too much and admit that they have it. Edward Snowden revealed all this back in 2013. He fled to Hong Kong. They wouldn't keep him there, so now he's in Russia. Yeah. But the NSA has all of your information. They know your Google searches from like February 9th, 2004 in a bunker in Colorado.
Help me, Rhonda.
Right? They have all this information. So, but they don't, like in the US, they have the Fourth Amendment. They're not supposed to track you forever.
I appreciate for your opportunity, for your time. I've only got a few minutes here, so I've written some things down so you don't have to listen to me ramble, but there is an evil I have seen under the sun, the sort of error that arises from a ruler. Fools are put in many high positions, while the rich occupy low ones. I have seen slaves on horseback, while princes go on foot like slaves. Since August of 2023, I have received a flood of messages, social media, email, handwritten letters. I've had I don't know how many conversations with people face to face, probably thousands at this point. And I realize now that we don't have any clue to how many around us are really broken, how many are silently suffering and barely hanging on. More often than not, they start the message with, "Hey, I'm a nobody, but," followed by horrors of addiction, mental illness, financial and household struggles, oftentimes incredibly complicated stories that I suspect they may have never told anyone before. But they still have hopes of a hopeful future, and they don't want to give up no matter what. And it kills me because these people, they aren't nobodies, as they describe themselves. Our modern society's convenient, comfortable, fragile little existence is oftentimes carried on the backs of these self-declared nobodies. And forgive my generalization, but in the modern world, we are so busy idolizing the genuine nothings of society, the self-centered celebrities, spineless politicians, clickbait social media influencers. It seems from my perspective that oftentimes these people live comfortable little lives while many of our real heroes are dragged through the mud and never once given a genuine thank you for it. But it's not just them that are hurting. We all are. I mean, that's why you're here at this conference, right? That's why people have traveled from all over the world to gather here. You all realize that it's time to do something. So to set the record straight, I'm not here as an intellectual or a psychologist or a politician or even a respected member of society, all things considered. I'm a high school dropout who lives in a log cabin in the woods in Virginia. I myself am just a 32-year-old nobody. So I'm just here today as the messenger. I believe that many of the problems identified at this conference are quite possibly symptoms of a bigger problem. We currently exist in an age of rapid digital immersion. The current average American teenager will have spent something like 30,000 hours by the time they are 30 on social media. The average American spends 6 to 9 hours a day staring at devices. And whether it's a city sidewalk, a family dinner table, the receptionist at an office, even people driving their damn cars down the roadway, I constantly see the struggle between maintaining conscious attention in the real world and the overwhelming pull we feel towards the digital one. And in my unprofessional opinion, neuroplasticity has made us increasingly digitally proficient, but at a cost of being digitally dependent. And if being hired on as a London cab driver can change your brain on an MRI scan, and if life experiences like PSD can alter the DNA in sperm, what irreversible alterations will 30,000 hours of staring into algorithmically fed state of hypnosis do to the human mind or to their offspring? And in this short breath of time, we live in a state of existence that quite possibly no one else in world history has. We have both access to instant global connectivity, infinite information, and consumer-level access to artificial intelligence, but we're the last few humans in world history who remember what life was like before it. We are the last living people in history to have experienced life before the digital age. And I fear that it may become nearly impossible for younger generations to even differentiate the digital world from the real one before the end of my lifetime. There is nothing inherently wrong with technology, there is nothing wrong with instant connection, and there is nothing intrinsically bad about access to abundant information. But what is bad is the lack of control and agency we have over these systems, and without realizing it, we are being programmed, and our culture is becoming commodified. Therefore, the more time we spend on these digital information systems, the more we revert to the mean of one of a fixed set of broad internet cohorts. In other words, the more time we spend online, the more commoditized our culture, the more tribal our psychology, and the more vulnerable we become.